love that every time, that fade out. I'm going to talk about it for the next 2 years.
I'm going to hold you to that.
All right. Well, everybody, today it is Matt Enderly from Patch Phrase, Justin Armenta from Jay Digitizing Studios, and I'm Jeff Fuller from Fuller Embroidery Works, and we are here today for the Embroidery Nerd, and we have a special guest. So it is interview time, and we're going to have all sorts of very complicated questions. I have a list. There's like 3. But we have Jay, I should have asked his name before we started, Jay Doyscher from TJ Stitch in Fairmont, Minnesota. He is the exclusive distributor of Helios Iris embroidery threads, quilting threads, and craft threads in the U.S. They carry everything from threads to backing to bobbins and more. TJ Stitch is owned by Jay and Tanya Doyscher, who also own the Visual Identity Vault in South Central Minnesota. Tanya is the graphic designer and production lead on many of their services. Jay is more the logistics guys. After a long career in the healthcare industry, TVIV was launched in 2014 after having been a home hobby business since 2004 to 2014. They're super excited to get to network with even more people in our industry through TJ Stitch, but also to keep a quality product to users in the U.S. So I'll go ahead and bring him on. Hello, Jay. How are you doing today?
Good, guys. How are you?
Good. Did I get your last name right?
Good. You got it spot on, Doyscher. Very good.
Oh, man. I was really worried there. I read and I was like, oh, this is going to be good.
I had the fire ready. You're going to be fired.
All right. So, Jay, why don't we start off with talking about the iris thread, the Helios iris thread. So, from what I understand, that's all made here in the U.S.?
No, it's actually made in Mexico.
Okay. That's still America.
Yeah, it's from what I understand, obviously I haven't been to the plant yet, but I will be going to the factory here at some point. From what I understand, it's just across the border from Laredo, Texas, by not very far. So it comes through at the Laredo checkpoint and passes through customs there. And then from there, it'll either ship up to us if it's stock, obviously, that we're going to keep in hand, or we can just ship it right from there to you, our customers, that kind of a deal.
So it sounds like you're kind of bypassing any like shipping dock problems that we would have with like overseas threads being stuck at docks or whatever for months. Like you can get it pretty really quickly, it seems like.
Yeah, in talking to my manufacturer rep, he says that 2 to 4 weeks is really about the longest we should have to see anything. I took an order literally the day that we decided we were going to do this, which was in the second week of March, not last week, but late the week before, and we're shipping that out on Friday this week. So just right a hair over 2 weeks by the time it's in the customer's hands, and it's 192 piece order. So for my first order out of the gate, I was like, woohoo! All right, this is gonna be good. If I get 192 piece orders every day, every time.
And I imagine that when it shows up, now it's like, all right, we have to stock it. Where are we going to put all this stuff?
Yeah, I mean, so we have the Visual Identity Vault is what our primary business has been for years, and we have a 14,000 square foot brick and mortar location in Fairmont, Minnesota, where we live. And the entire lower level, the basement level, which is about 6,600 square feet, is wide open. So we've got plenty of room to bring in, racks, heavy duty shelving, things like that to put things on. The one thing that we're looking forward to is possibly creating a dumbwaiter so that we have a way to bring it from the basement to the main floor without having to go up and down the stairs, kind of a deal. So,
gotcha. Well, I'm going to grab just a couple of comments here. So we have Bevy Jean, who checked in early, Cindy King as well. We have Barb here from Minnesota Custom Made. I was going to get that right. Well, I was going to get it wrong, but then I didn't get it wrong. So from north central Minnesota, we have Bob here from South Carolina. And we have Fred from Ohio, I believe. We have Marla checking in. We have Mike Muldowney from Canada. And we have Dustin here from Spokane, I believe. He's in Spokane, Washington.
Sounds right.
Sounds right. And we actually have a comment here from Christine. She says, the only thread made on the North American continent, made in Monterrey, Mexico. The factory is enormous and state-of-the-art. So I don't know if you know Christine or not.
I do. Do you guys know Christine?
I do. That when I started in the industry, I had a very long phone conversation with her about supplies and whatnot, because I had no idea what I was doing.
So in January of 2020, I was in Texas doing a college football event selling merchandise, and I had a massive heart attack. And so nothing like being, 1,000+ miles away from home, having a heart attack and doing your best to try and stay alive. And just prior to that, my wife had met Christine and some other gals. We really like to network within the industry, learn more about people, what they have to offer, because you never know when it might make more sense to have a customer just reach out to somebody that's in, Ohio, if you know somebody in Ohio. And so Christine and a lot of the other gals, I think you had mentioned Nikki earlier, that they all really kind of were there to support Tanya as I went through things. So, and then of course COVID struck, and we ended up doing a lot of online Zoom, like happy hours or social hours or whatever, on Friday and Saturday nights. And so Christine was involved in a number of those, and we got to meet her and get to know her better. And why she knows the immediate answer to that question is because she essentially was mama to Enmart's division with the embroidery thread and all that kind of stuff. They were a part of, I believe the company was called Ensign, and Christine had worked for them for many years, and then she started the Enmart division, which was the embroidery threads, the backing, quilting threads, and all that kind of stuff. And so that was the direction that we were going, was an acquisition of Enmart, and we shifted a little bit on Friday, and we decided we're just going to go from scratch and build it from the ground up. So we're kind of a grassroots business to begin with. We other than my wife going to school for graphic design, I was completely, totally healthcare. So I've just been that serial entrepreneur, always trying to find the next thing that's going to work and hope that one of them, makes us as rich as Mark Cuban or something like that. But, for right now, I'd just be happy to be as rich as somebody making $100,000 a year. That'd be okay.
So what kind of business was the TVIV?
So the Visual Identity Vault is a screen printing, embroidery. We do promotional products, signs, banners, paper printed products like business cards and brochures, all that type of stuff. We kind of market ourselves up here as a bit of a one-stop shop for marketing needs. We don't typically add anything to our to our book of services unless we feel 100% comfortable with it. So this Helios Iris thread is definitely going to be a learning curve for us. It is the thread that we have used ever since we started doing embroidery with our business. When we first started out, we just worked out of our garage, and we were doing a lot of plastisol screen print transfers, and then eventually got into direct screen printing, and just slowly started adding on services from there. And it was 2014 when we acquired a business about an hour and a half from us, and they had the embroidery machines, which was one of the major attractions to us to pick up out of that business, was the embroidery machines. So we have 4 embroidery machines, all single heads, but they're Melco Ameas, so they're all daisy chained together as well. and that iris thread is all we have ever used, and we love it. And our customers have never complained. I've never had any complaints about threads running, color running, or anything like that. And our lead embroiderer is completely self-taught. She's watched a ton of YouTube and videos like that, and has taught herself how to do embroidery. So again, like I said, we're just a grassroots, and just kind of do everything organically. So
So what was the jump from your decoration business to acquiring the thread distribution?
well, it started off with panic. To be honest with you, we were when Courtney is our COO, and she's also our embroidery gal. When she came to me and told me that we weren't going to be able to get our thread anymore because Enmart was closing, I mean, my immediate response was, "What? What are you talking about? They're closing. How can they close? They're such a big company." And she pointed me to the website. I went to the website, and sure enough, it says we're closing as of, I think it was March 17th was what they were advertising as their end date. And so I kind of went into full blown panic mode because, I mean, we've got, 300 to 500 cones of thread in the basement. And I'm like, I don't really want to start all the way over with a whole new company. So I started trying to find somebody else, at least, that we could purchase the thread from, and just was not having any luck. And then I ended up stumbling across what was, or the former national sales manager for Enmart, and he graciously took my name and phone number and passed it on to Frank DeRoberts, who is the national rep for Helios Iris. And Frank called, and from there it went from where can we get this thread to what do you need somebody to distribute this thread in the U.S. And he says, yeah, we're looking for somebody. We've not had any luck locating anyone yet, and so we talked about what it all entailed. And because of my heart attack, I've essentially become disabled, so I'm really bored. I could get in the way a lot at the store when I go down there, and this seemed like it would be something that would be a I don't want to say easy task, because it's not going to be an easy task, but it kind of up my alley again. I really like logistical things, so trying to figure out where to source everything from is kind of gravy for me, because that's what I like to do.
So is Iris rayon, poly, both?
It's 100% poly.
100% poly.
Yep.
So how much of their thread line are you going to be carrying? Are you going to be carrying a little bit from embroidery, a little bit from quilting, or are you just going to be carrying all of their thread line?
So right now I can tell you that for sure we'll be carrying their embroidery thread line and their Merrill Floss Merrill Floss thread line. I don't know, maybe they can make bread out of it too. I'm not sure. And for those two for sure, we have narrowed in on. Christine's been kind enough to help us a little bit already too, with trying to figure out, what we should bring in and what we don't need to bring in right away, and what we shouldn't bring in at all, kind of a deal. So, so embroidery thread, the Merrill Floss. I just started working on bobbins today, trying to pin down the supplier on the bobbins and bobbin thread. Craft thread, I know we've talked about. I just got to kind of see what the market looks like for that. And there's one, backing, embroidery backing is for sure something on the list. I think, Jeff, prior to us going on air here, you had mentioned patch fabric, and I have to be completely honest, I don't know anything about that off of their line. So I'm going to have to, just for you, I'm going to have to learn a little bit about that and see if that's clearly something that we need to make sure we stock so Jeff Fuller can order it.
I mean, I think you should. Everybody should stock patch fabric, in my personal opinion. But I don't know. I really liked the Enmart patch fabric because it's thick, and so when you're marrowing, it's really easy to run through a marrow machine.
Mm-hmm.
It's already got the bulk to it that you have to add to other fabrics that don't have that bulk. So that's pretty good. But Matt's got something he wants to pull up here. So we'll go ahead and throw it at him.
Okay, here we go. I clicked the button, so don't worry. So if you're new to this group or haven't watched us before, one of the products that we, the Embroidery Nerds, have created is this lovely thread converter chart. So right now I got it pulled up. You can get it at threadconverter.com. But I pulled in, well, of course, what better image to use than Jay's logo here. So let's say I needed to embroider this. I don't know what color is close enough to it. I throw it in here. I click it, select the color. I already did it, so there's going to be 2 of them now. But then I can scroll down here and I can see Honeydew is the closest one I got. I loaded in the iris thread. Unfortunately, I only have rayon right now. We'll have to work together and get polyester added. But then you can do any conversions you want, along with if you, let's say you have a different brand. I could do from Gunold or Madeira, for example. 1776, because that's my favorite color. And I can see that this is the closest one. Rayon is always limited in colors. We all know that, but pretty cool. I recommend going there.
Awesome.
I have to push lots of buttons because I keep muting myself because the digital assistant in the room keeps going off.
Alexa.
Don't. All right. Well, I'm going to grab a couple of other questions here or comments here. So Christine says Ensign Emblem was the parent company and she ran Enmart. And I mean, honestly, when I think about Enmart, I picture Christine because she was the only person I ever dealt with at Enmart.
Mm-hmm.
And she was always really helpful and nice. And so I always just picture her when I think of Enmart, even though she's not there anymore.
Right. Well, and she, Christine's a very humble person. And when I had this opportunity, kind of cross my desk 2 weeks ago, and I knew right away that this is who I got to have to talk to find out if this is a smart move, a bad move, what to carry, what not to carry. And I reached out to her right away, and she was super kind enough to answer just a truckload of questions to start off with, and we hope to continue to work with her in the future here. As far as she doesn't want to come back to running the business, which I totally understand that, and because she's got a great thing going there with the women in garment decorating and all of her other stuff, but. Yeah, we're looking forward to learning as we grow and really just learning, like I said, about customers, whether it's you guys yourselves or your viewers. I thoroughly enjoy so far every time somebody has reached out, getting to make that phone call to them, introduce myself to them, and then learn about their business a little bit so I understand what type of things they ordered in the past, so I know what to write down and keep track of, so that when we decide what additional things to bring in, that we've already got a kind of a heads up of what's going to work and what won't work.
So you guys, go ahead, Justin.
I was gonna say like tools.
Tools, yeah. I mean, I saw on their website that they carried like geonite presses, heat presses, but I didn't see a lot of tools. I guess again, not being the guy day to day involved in the embroidery side of our business, I wasn't on the page as much as Courtney was. But were there a lot of tools, Justin, that they did carry? Or
That was a loaded question.
oh,
I have a tool that I came out with myself. It's in several distributors, so I was just wondering if you're going to get into. Matt has it there. It's a tool for 3D
Puff Pro. Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, yes,
Yeah,
if you're
but
asking if we would be interested in distributing that, yeah, then yeah, you got my contact info. Let's have a
yeah,
conversation.
absolutely. We
Yeah.
can talk later about that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
All right, so I'm going to ask my question that's not about Justin's tool. So do you guys have a place that you sell your products now, or online? I was going to say virtually, but do you have a web store yet, or is that something you're working on?
So we literally just signed up last night with Equid. I haven't gotten any farther other than signing up for their free trial, and we were down to Equid versus Shopify as we were going to go. I think we're still leaning towards Equid, but we're not far enough into it that if we want to pivot, we certainly can pivot yet if we wanted to at this point. So
Okay,
I
so
haven't started loading the products and the photos and all that kind of stuff yet.
gotcha. So if people want to find out more about your company, where can they go now?
Well, I mean, right now, two places. Facebook. We just launched the TJ Stitch Facebook page on. Let's see. Today's Tuesday. I think I launched it on Saturday actually, and so TJ Stitch MN is our username, and then we can also TJStitch.com will eventually be our web store or e-commerce platform way to go. So
Okay. Well, I'm going to grab a few more comments here. We have Mashid checking in. Hello. We have Letty. Hey, guys, on for a little bit. Glad to have you here. Suzanne, don't worry. There's always a replay. These will stay up on Facebook and YouTube. We have Christine saying Enmart had the patch fabric because the parent company made patches. Not sure anyone else will have that same recipe. That's... I don't know.
that's not what you wanted to hear.
Yeah. That's okay. Christine says thread converters are very useful. That's a good one. Awesome. Suzanne said, did you mention puff foam? So I don't know if you guys are going to be carrying any of the foam for 3D puff embroidery or not.
I will definitely have to check into it. That's again, like right now when somebody throws something out, it's pretty much I write it down and then I spend like the whole next day, teaching myself about that. Obviously I know what puff foam is and I know what it's used for, but I don't know exactly a source on it yet. And that's what I'm with the acquisition no longer going through. It's not like I have the ability right now to just tap into all of their vendors. So I have to go back out now and find the vendors, which thankfully my the national rep has been really great about giving me leads to names of companies and things like that. And then those leads have led to me getting, leads for other things and stuff like that. That's how I got working on bobbins today because Courtney told me we needed bobbins, and I'm like, oh, great. I don't know where I'm going to get those now. So, but hopefully tomorrow when they're open for business, I can reach out to this company and we can get something set up with them. So.
Awesome. Christine says Enmart mostly carried scissors, seam rippers, and tweezers and stuff like that. Tools are nice add-ons.
We should have just brought Christine in too.
I mean, we still could.
We can send her a link right now. Christine, if you want to come on, let us know. We'll send you a link.
She's probably not ready for that. It's supper time. It's actually after supper time, but yeah.
Christine says here, I'm excited about TJ Stitch. I'm glad someone will keep Iris Thread in the U.S. And puff foam is a tough one to source. I believe it. And Suzanne says stabilizer. My two favorites are heavy crisp tearaway and for caps and 3.1 ounce heavyweight cutaway. I just can't, I picture you trying to source stuff, and that's got to be extremely difficult to find vendors. I know a lot of people are pretty tight-lipped when it comes to where they get stuff. And I can imagine that's going to be one of the biggest hurdles that you guys are going to have.
Yeah, I mean, thank God for the power of the internet that wasn't there when I was 16. I mean, we do have when the tool's used for the right reasons, you can find a lot of information on there, and you can a lot of times drill down on it. I mean, don't take just what pops up on the first page as the gospel truth. That's just what's getting the highest SEO. So, work through a couple more pages until you find, and that's exactly what I did when I stumbled across the national sales rep name. Is I had already gone to like 4 or 5 other websites trying to find, somebody that carried this thread, and I was crashing and burning. And when I finally found his name, it had a phone number. So I'm like, well, call him and see if he answers his phone. Worst case scenario, he doesn't answer, and he answered, and that's where we are today. So, but again, I mean, like I said, I enjoy logistical things, and so for me, that's kind of half the fun is searching, and then when you actually find one, then you can you get excited about it, and I feel like then the relationship too is a little bit more genuine when you've taken the time on your end to really go out there and find that supplier. And I think it's the same way from a sales standpoint too for all of us, that when you cultivate and work and collaborate with somebody and network with somebody to try and get that customer that you've wanted for a long time, and you finally nail them, it's like, I mean, it's 5 o'clock. Doesn't matter what time of the day it is. You just landed that big fish, and it's 5 o'clock. So let's go.
Okay, well, I think I'm going to pull the next. I'm going to steal the talking shell here. So this is time for this week's page of the week. So this is the second one. Of course, it's going to be TJ Stitch because that's who we're interviewing. So on the screen, you can see the link. This is our short link to get to his Facebook page. Go ahead there, like it, follow it, and just stay tuned to it and see when their web store comes up. And then you can go ahead and get some embroidery thread and I guess bobbins in the future to try maybe.
Yeah, bobbins and backing. And the company that we'll get the backing from is the same company that Enmart had been using. And I talked to that rep, sent me a message this morning. He's like, "Are you ready to place your order yet?" And I'm like, "No, just give me a little bit here. I'm not getting close, but no, we're not quite ready yet." So I don't even have
do you have any stock of the thread or anything yet?
Long story short, no. The plans again with the acquisition would have came with inventory, and then when we opted to go a different direction, then that means we're literally starting from scratch. I mean, I bought the domain last week, and we started working on or 2 weeks ago I bought the domain, I think it was, and we started working as fast as we could, and we thought we were going one way, and then Friday is when the brakes got slammed on and shifted course here. So,
Gotcha. Yeah, that can be really tough when you all of a sudden have to pivot. But it sounds like it's going to be a good challenge for you, and you're up for the challenge, which is always, it's good when you're a good fit for the challenge that's coming ahead. And it sounds like that's definitely what you're up for.
well, and I mean, I don't know the three of you well enough yet to know what your history is, not only in business in general, but in the industry. And the thing that I have learned in 18 years now is that it never hurts to have the connections. That's what I like to just call it, is the connections. Knowing somebody else that has done something similar or gone through something similar. And we've been real fortunate, like I said, the last couple of years, really, in our network of people in the industry and friends in the industry have grown quite large, and that's nice. And it's nice just to be able to sometimes pick up the phone and bounce something off of somebody and see what they think, and to be able to do it and know from a trust standpoint that I'm not trying to get into your market and sell to your customers. I think you kind of alluded to that earlier, Jeff, and that's what I just think. At some point you have to put yourself out there. I feel, and you have to take a little bit of a chance and a risk. And, you know, worst case scenario, you start from scratch. So,
All right, I got a question. So, obviously, we don't have like a full suite of like what your clientele or customer base is going to be. One thing I know with some of the other businesses, like what we partnered with before, like with Gunold, like I really like Gunold for their patch twill and stuff like that. However, one issue with them is that they require a business license in order to buy directly from them, or to get wholesale pricing. Is that something that you guys are looking at? Whether or not like people in the home market can still buy? Because a lot of our viewers and people in the group, of what 4,500 people I think we have. I don't think we've done a poll lately to see who has businesses licenses or not, but that's kind of one of the problems is they can't actually buy from these places. So is that something you're looking at, or?
So, just a quick story on this is actually I had received an email yesterday from a lady wanting to order some thread, and me being naive just a little bit into this yet, less than 2 weeks into this, I as I shared with you guys before we went on air, the first order I took was 192 king spools. So I was like, well, yeah, I'll respond to this lady right away. Well, it was an order for 2. That's fine. But when I asked her as I was loading her into QuickBooks as a customer, and I asked her for her sales tax ID, that was the first time where I realized, oh crap, I'm not dealing just with businesses. I'm also dealing with the general, we'll just say general public, the general crafters, the home stitchers, whatever. I don't know, maybe there's a different term out there that you guys have come up with, but and so she ends up not paying the tax on that order because I wasn't prepared for that, and so she got a little bit of a discount on that. But yes, we plan to have the ability for both a wholesale side of it as well as a retail side of it is our intention. So,
gotcha. Well, we have
if both sides are going to be under the same name, or if we're going to have a secondary name for the retail side. I'm not 100% sure on that yet, but
gotcha. Well, we have a question here from Mike. He says, "Sorry, I was walking my fish. Did I hear right? No longer acquiring Mart, but just starting a distributor from scratch." And I believe that's correct, right?
Yep, that is correct. Yep.
All right. And Christine says, "Wholesale and retail, the dilemma of the supplier side of things."
Yeah, I mean, and she's right. It is a dilemma. I mean, we all know companies out there that are willing to do both, and we all know companies out there that swear the other one is the evil, stepchild of something. So, again, it just comes down to to me, it comes down to what the person is comfortable with, what the company is comfortable with, and with us having originally started as a home-based business, and then moving upwards and upwards and upwards into a brick and mortar location. I mean, when we moved from our house into the brick and mortar location, our sales doubled, if not tripled, almost instantly. And so that was like, of course, then, we had our home-based side of the business for 10 years. And I'm like, well, why the hell didn't we do this sooner? If I would have known that we were going to increase our sales by that much just by having a brick and mortar location, we would have done it. But and so that's, I think, just where we are now. I like to hang my hat on the customer service side of things. If we provide good customer service, and whether the price is as long as the price is fair, it doesn't have to be high, it doesn't have to be low. And you just provide good customer service. I think that's kind of the win-win for every business. So to that gentleman that just that commented, just hang with us here for a little bit as we get our feet underneath ourselves. You can order now by just sending me an email, and I'll invoice you out separate. I'll get your order if you know exactly what you need or want, and we are processing orders. So.
So you said you were the sole distributor for the manufacturer. Is that correct?
Correct. Correct.
Okay.
So no other company in the United States will be able to distribute this fabric unless they go through us directly.
Okay.
Thread.
That was thread, not fabric. Yes.
Yeah,
Um,
thread. Yep.
that was my next question. Is like I know locally, and I think it's pretty popular. This smaller entity being these distributors of multiple lines of products and brand names. Here in Tucson, we have somebody based out of Phoenix who comes into town once a week. They have some pretty big vans. So they carry screen print supplies, and then they ended up getting into embroidery supplies. So they're actually a distributor for Madeira threads.
Okay.
So that's what, especially with the shipping situation being such a ridiculous rate at the moment. Is that something that maybe you'll look into, where you're kind of redistribute down to these little guys that can be smaller distributors for you in more of a regional or a localized focus?
Like
Okay.
a sub distributor,
Like a what, man?
What?
kind of like a sub distributor or secondary
Right.
partner.
Sure.
Right.
Okay, so let me answer that question, and I guess I never really answered Matt's question a little bit ago either. So, circling back to Matt's question is what type of customers are we looking for? Obviously, we are happy with either the commercial, screen print shop, much like ours that needs, 4 spools, 8 spools, whatever. Maybe it's a much larger commercial shop that does. The one that I talked to last week does flags. They stitch a lot of flags, and they use the iris thread in the usage of their flags. And so they're ordering hundreds of rolls at a time, which I was like, okay, well, when can we get your first order? Because 100 rolls sounds good to me. But so that from that standpoint, Matt, answering your question, it would be either type of customer, whether it's the small shop, the large shop, or even just Susie Homemaker that went and bought an embroidery machine at Walmart or something like that, and she wants to use the craft thread side of it. And then Justin, I knew I was going to do this. I knew I was going to go back and remember Matt's question, and then I was going to end up forgetting yours. So just give me real quick what yours was, and then I'll put me on the right path.
So basically, have like a sub. Yeah,
sub distributors. So again, this kind of goes back to what I started out earlier in saying that we're hoping to work with Christine and have Christine help us focus on the right things to offer through TJ Stitch, and then we'll reach out there from that end and make the connections to suppliers to be able to supply that. Now, whether we're brought on as a sub distributor for them, obviously that could go 6 ways to Sunday depending on how the conversation goes. And then are we looking for we are allowed to have sub distributors of the iris thread. And I think in time, I'm absolutely interested in finding some strategically placed other people. And it doesn't even have to be somebody who's currently a distributor. It could be, just somebody who's got a good experience in the industry and needs a chance or wants a chance. And I mean, here I am getting a terrific chance and opportunity for us to turn this into something, not only continuing what was started by Christine, but I always like to refer to it as raising somebody else's child. It was Christine's baby when she left Enmart. It was Christine's teenage child. Now we got to take him into to the young adulthood in life and continue to make them grow. So maybe a bad analogy, but that's usually what I come up with.
Well, I think a lot of businesses, they start off in that kind of home hobby level, and it's being able to find a distributor that can offer you that when you're in the home hobby level, and then when you grow in and you decide that, you know what, I'm going to take this professional, and you get a resale certificate and you register a business, that you're able to stay with kind of the same suppliers. And I know when I started, I struggled finding suppliers because I started in my bedroom with a single needle machine, and everybody wanted a wholesale certificate and I didn't have one. And it was really hard getting supplies at a decent cost. I never knew how anybody made money, to be honest with you, because of the prices I was paying for stuff. But once I finally went ahead and made that leap into getting a business license, it helped, but it was kind of, you know, the companies that I was buying from didn't want to convert me over to a wholesale account. But then that allowed me to buy from other companies. And I think when you start in and you buy something and you find something that works well for you the first time, you just kind of stop looking. And you always go back to that same place. So it's really nice that you're going to be offering that to home hobby level as well as the industrial level, because that gives people just kind of that singular place that they can go when they start out, and then they can continue going with that same company as they grow and they move up in their communities.
Well, and I like to use the term, and I don't know if it's quite frankly the politically correct or the right term, but I like to use the term organic. To me, if you can organically grow or build something, your investment into that is a lot more than just the value of it. I mean, there's the sentimental value of it, I guess, or whatever. When we actually started our first business, we were doing photography at sporting events, mainly because we live in Minnesota hockey. So we were going to hockey tournaments all over Minnesota, South Dakota, North Dakota. I think we might have done one in Iowa once, but we would go for a whole weekend and we would just take photos. And we built a custom display system with 6 monitors on it, so people could watch the slideshow of the slides, and they could either, pick one to make it an 8x10, or they could buy the whole thing on a CD. And we just gave them the rights to use the photos, and they paid us like $300. And it was like, hey, this is a good deal. And we built that company up, and that's how we actually got our sales tax ID, was because of that company. And then when we started to add, we got a lot of requests from these tournaments to also do clothing. That's when we had the opportunity to purchase what was originally the business was Imageware, and we were able to buy that from a local lady here in town. And I mean, that business cost us $5,000. I mean, you don't hear of many businesses getting purchased for $5,000 that are existing. And she was doing about $60,000 a year in sales, and we quickly turned it into 120, 140, 150. And but because we had the sales tax ID from the photography side of it, we were able to just cross it over into the clothing side of it, which I don't know. I haven't learned enough about the 3 of you. I didn't do my homework, sorry, to know where you all live. But in Minnesota, clothing is tax-free. Is not there's no sales tax on clothing, as long as you are selling the clothing and decorating it. If you are just decorating it, I mean, if Matt, if you brought me 20 hats and wanted them embroidered, that's fine. I can do that. But then I have to charge you for a service, so I have to charge you the sales tax on that side of it. So,
like how you said hats, it's like that I don't do hats. The only thing I don't do, and shirts and jackets, and
he did his research.
Anything other than patches, I don't do.
Everybody knows you don't do hats, Matt.
There's a hat that's on the hat hoop. It's been on there for about 4 or 5 months since Jeff showed me how to do it. Like, I'm not going to take it off because when I need to do it, it's already hooped, and I know about what it's supposed to look like for when I screw it up. I just gotta have Adam come and do it for me since he's way better at it.
Our embroidery gal Courtney has been a huge part of our company since 2015, I think, is when we hired her. And it's kind of she's the work wife. If you've ever heard that term before, she's the work wife. Tanya's my real wife, and Courtney hates hats. She absolutely hates hats, and I keep telling her that all she needs to do is just train one of the part-time people to do hats. Just train them how to do hats, and you don't have to do it. So yesterday she came upstairs. She was so excited yesterday because she had taught her mom how to do hats. Because her mom started working part-time for us. So now her mom, who I don't know if she'll end up watching this or not, is in charge of doing hats, and Courtney's out of it. So, yeah. She doesn't mind stocking hats too much. It's baseball hats that she doesn't care for.
So I'm going to grab a few comments because we fell a little bit behind. Cindy says, where did you say you are located? And I guess where you're shipping from would be your central hub, I guess.
Minnesota.
Okay. Where at in Minnesota?
Fairmont, Minnesota. So it's right in the middle of the state, east-west wise, but we are just 15 miles north of the Iowa border. So halfway between Rochester, Minnesota, and Sioux Falls, South Dakota. So.
Gotcha. I'm in Ames, Iowa. So just
okay.
Just a little bit.
Awesome. Yeah. Those cyclones, right?
Yeah. So Christine says, good customer service and helping people out is the lifeblood of this industry. You guys will be great at this. And from what we've talked about, it definitely sounds like you guys you're off to a good start. And you're going to be really good at it.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, it's enjoyable for me to make that connection. I'm really trying to spend a few minutes when I do reach out to that customer as they reach out to us and get to know them a little bit. I've been making little notes in the QuickBooks notes section so that way I kind of know what type of customer they are, so that the next time they send me an email or the next time they reach out, I can pull it up quick and go, oh yeah, you're the one that does hats once every 4 months. Okay, Matt, nice to meet you. I remember you.
He will do hats once every 4 months, about when I go down there.
Yeah, actually, that's about true.
Matt, where are you at?
So I'm originally from Wisconsin, the better Minnesota, but whatever. But I'm stationed in Omaha, Nebraska. I think about that for some reason.
Stationed, do you say that as if you're military?
I am.
Are you? And thank you for your service.
Because I was just at work.
I can see that Coyote Brown right there. Yeah.
Yep.
And what branch of the military are you in?
I'm in the Air Force.
Okay.
Yep.
My son was active duty Air Force for 8 years and is in the North Carolina Air Guard right now. And he's trying to decide if he's going to re-up for another stint with North Carolina or not. So, yeah, cool. Thank you for your service, man. How about you, Justin? Where are you at? Sorry to all you that know everything about you, and I don't. But
Tucson, Arizona.
Tucson, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, well, then you don't even know what Minnesota's like if you live in Tucson.
No, I've lived different parts of the U.S., but I haven't gone that far north.
Well,
I haven't experienced the cold, I should say.
Yeah, I was gonna say Matt and Jeff at least are on about the same parallel, and they're familiar with the cold because it does get cold in Iowa from time to time. But this time of the year, I really love in Iowa because it's usually, the yards are finally starting to dry up a little bit, and if we do get a dump of snow, it doesn't seem to be there for very long, and it moves on. So
we're still negotiating Justin's 50-state tour. We haven't put ink to paper. Well, we haven't even typed it up yet, but we're pretty sure Justin's going to do a 50-state tour one of these days.
Yep. Well, we were going to do the Nerd Villa where we all moved to Arizona, but I think that might be a little hot for some of us.
I thought we were all moving to Omaha.
Well, you're moving to Omaha.
Oh, and then we're all moving to Arizona.
You're moving to Omaha. We'll combine ship, and then you can make hats for me, and I'll make patches for you. It's
Everybody's moving. Fun times.
Except for me.
Yeah, because he legally can't. So we have Christine saying, should clarify, I didn't own Enmart, just an employee of the company that started it. I did pretty much run it, but it was not my company. I still think of every time somebody says Enmart, I just picture Christine. I know she hasn't been there for a while, but she she had a big impact on my business when I first
Yeah,
started.
and
Probably doesn't even remember me.
long before I ever met Christine, I mean, we've been going to, trade shows almost every year for the last 16, 17 years. And, one of the mainstays that we always saw, especially here in Minnesota at the, what is it, the DAC show, the Decorated Apparel Expo. And you're welcome for the shout out. So make sure you give me a deal on my booth next year, DAX people. And anyways, I always remember their booth. I mean, their booth was always right there, and I'm 100% certain that Christine was always there. We just didn't know her at the time, and so I remember what their booth looked like, and now I'm having that running through my head. In fact, I was thinking about it today as I was driving from our one office to the other, and I was like, okay, what do we want our booth someday to look like? Because this year it's going to be all about learning the different trade shows that are out there and which ones would be good fits for us and which ones wouldn't, and then jump into them next, in 2023 and getting into the trade shows. So.
Gotcha. I mean, they're fun. They've been a little idle the last little bit with the trade shows, but they're definitely a lot of fun to go out there and network. And I remember the setup at DAX 2 years ago. I want to say it was 2 years ago, pre-COVID. I don't even remember anymore, but we went pre-COVID. And I know Enmar pretty much set up a store, and that was a lot of the trade show. There were a lot of people with their little rolly carts that were coming sharpened.
That was 2020 because it was the first one I went to.
2020, ancient history.
Are you sure it was 2020? Because that would have been, mid-March was the launch of COVID.
It was February 25th-ish, I believe, because it was like right before that, and then it was like, obviously the next month is March.
I will absolutely take your word for it, simply because at that particular point in my life, I was trying hard not to die. So there's pretty much the first 4 to 5 months of 2020 are absolutely a blur to me. I don't remember much of what's going on.
So we're gonna pull Christine's comments up here. So she says applique getaway in Texas in July.
Yep.
10 by 40 booth, which is a heck of a lot of work. Trust me, I stocked it and worked it. I remember it was big, but coming up here in July is going to be the applique getaway. I want to say it's at the Dallas Fort Worth airport, just like at the hotel right outside of there. So
yeah, as soon as my wife and I decided that we were going to pull the trigger on this, her very first comment was, call Christine and tell her we want a booth at Applique Getaway. And I'm just like, okay, well, before I ask Christine about that, I'm going to start asking some questions of, are we making the right move here with getting into this? And then we've talked since, and I just kind of feel like I would maybe like to go down to Applique Getaway if possible this summer, just to see what it's all about, and so that I can learn. I'm going to one here in April. There is sorry that my dogs are being loud. There is a trade show down in Las Vegas at the end of April for kind of the sewing machine industry and stuff like that. And so that would be kind of part of the industrial group that I would be looking to capture business wise. So I'm going to go down to that. And that's also where I'm going to get my complete rundown on everything from Iris that they offer, that we will offer. So, but I'm looking forward to traveling in 2023. That'll be fun. So
I haven't.
If anybody else had any questions, we're kind of winding down to the last few minutes here. So comment really quick if you have any questions for Jay or any of us. In the meantime, maybe we can go over a few things that we have going on. Jeff?
Jeff is working on something right now. I actually did have a question before I forget, and I'm the other way, Jeff, but whatever. Yeah, there you go. Good job. You got it. Give you a B+ on that. Now I forgot my question. Yeah. How in depth or like how many colors are there for like the polyester line? Is it like a lot, like 400, 200?
In the Iris brand for the polyester thread, there are 300 different colors, as I understand it. So, kind of pre us going on the show, I think I mentioned, they have primarily 3 different sizes of the thread: a king spool or a king cone, a smaller cone that's like 1,100 yards. The king is 5,500 yards, and then they have a the mini spool, and I forget off the top of my head how many yards that is, but 3 different sizes, 300 different colors. There's 900 photos that I gotta painstakingly add to a website, but I'm looking forward to it. I'm hoping, knock on wood, that we can have a functioning web store with at minimum the thread and possibly the backing and marrow floss up by the end of the month. That's what I'm shooting for. It's a little aggressive, but that's what I'm shooting for. So
sweet. I think Jeff has some things he wants to show that pertain to the nerd group.
Yep. So right now it's our annual t-shirt sale. So we have the embroidery nerd shirts. This design, but not vinyl. This is one that I mocked up. We've got those coming out. If you guys want to get a shirt, remember that we only do the shirt sales for a couple of weeks right now, time of the year. And this is going to be the design for this year and not next year. So if you guys want to make sure that you pick up a shirt, I would highly recommend jumping in and getting in on that. Justin's company is actually going to be printing them for us. They did an excellent job last year. We're looking forward to them doing it again this year. So other announcements that we've got coming up is, hold on, Adam gets his 10-second commercial.
Hi.
We're going to make him big. Or me.
Very fast.
Okay. So, in case you have not heard, me and Alexis Calloway from So Sweet Academy are going to be doing a ship and stitch to make some bunnies and eggs. And not the kinds you eat. They're Easter eggs, not the kind you eat. And you can put your name, and you can put names on the bunnies and eggs. There are different sizes. There's a lot of...
Use somebody's name for a discount code.
Oh, yeah. The discount code is Adam, and if you use it, you will have to pay $65, and
it will be less.
It will be less.
All right, and for those of you that don't know what a ship and stitch is, that's where Alexis gathers all the supplies together. She puts them in a box, and she ships you the supplies, and then you jump in on a class on April 2nd is when the class is going to be. You all sit down in a Zoom class and sew it together. If you have any problems, they're there to work through them with you. So that's what Mini Nerd's got coming up.
And does Mini Nerd have a website or a business that he runs on the side too?
Oh, yeah. I have a business that is bjjhats.com. And yeah. I'm not good at speaking live. I'm just no.
He's working on it. It's a
great job.
All right. So with that, guys, did anybody else have any announcements?
I think that's pretty much it. And you can tell my camera died, so that's cool.
Yeah, second webcam.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, I thank you guys for inviting me so early in the get-go here for us, but happy to promote you guys as we get going in this. And if people if people need to get some thread or whatever, they can feel free to reach out to us through our Facebook page, or the information. We've got our phone numbers and email posted on the Facebook page too, so people can reach out to us that way.
Yeah, absolutely. We're very happy that you were able to make it on such short notice. And then we were able to learn more about you and your company that you guys are building up. It's been really enjoyable here for us. And so we'd like to thank you for spending your time with us. We appreciate that. But with that, guys, I'll go ahead and wrap it up. We have Jay from TJ Stitch. We have Just Armenta from Jay. Justin's got something? No?
No.
Okay. Justin Armenta
from waving.
Oh, gotcha. Justin Armenta from jadigitizing.com. Matt Enderly from Pat Phrase, and I'm Jeff Fuller from Fuller Embroidery Works. And we're all here representing the Embroidery Nerd. We'd like to thank you guys for hanging out with us, and have a great night.
See ya.
Thanks, guys.